visit gin distilleries, they tend to be a bit boring. They're usually a warehouse in the middle of industrial state. This is a World Heritage site. The guys managed to sneak a distillery inside of this place. So this is a fairly unique site. Even for local people in Edinburgh, since it's a brand new place, people always walk past, drive past, and they are always amazed about this. That's what happened with us. We come here to work every day, we're never bored. We always like to be here because everything is still very beautiful, very fresh. Being this very new, the stills are also very new. They were made in Germany, right? So they speak Deutsch. So they're created just outside Stuttgart, just to highlight my German skills. Stuttgart is in the area called Baden-Württemberg, right? In the southern parts of Germany, yeah. And they have names. I'm sure some of you know about the story, but for those who don't, in Scotland there's a big tradition of naming the stills, right? Every time you visit a distillery, if you ask the guys, what's the name of the still, they will tell you because most stills have their own names. Normally the stills are named after the daughter or the wife of the master distiller, right? Our master distiller, David, is not married, doesn't have any kids, so we need to be a bit more creative when it comes to that. So you see these massive ones over here, they are called Annie and Lina. They got these names because Annie and Lina were the very first two female botanists and garden at the Royal Botanic Garden here in Edinburgh. Right, back in the 1800s, they were suffragettes. They worked for 25 years at the Royal Botanic Gardens, and we do have a very strong partnership with the Botanic Garden. We create gyms with them, we collect botanics with them. So in order to pay tribute for these very strong, powerful women, we named them Annie and Lina. The small one over here is called Matilda. Very easy thing to understand why. It's because of this lovely dog. You can see the photograph in here. Our distiller manager, Finns, has this dog, and that's why we named Matilda. Are you guys familiar with the process of making gin? A little bit? Right. So I'm going to give an overview. I will try to make a bit simple thing. It's not super simple, but I'll try my best. So the very first thing you need is a fermented liquid that is called grain neutral spirit. Like we call it GNS. You can call it pure evil if you want to, because it contains at least 96% of alcohol. It's a very strong thing, but something for you guys to remember always that alcohol is a big carrier of flavor. Whatever you put into alcohol, you will get the flavor. That's why it's very important for us to use this strong base, because if you put the right amount of botanics, you have your product in the end. Right? So normally behind as well is where the process starts. There's something called the maceration tank. We leave them overnight, grain neutral spirits and some of the botanicals, getting along to each other for around 12 hours. First thing we do in the morning is to pump this solution into one of the stills. I'm going to use Matilda as an example because it's smaller, it's easier. So we pump this solution over there, and then this lower chamber, the silver one, we fill with water and turn the heat on, right? And then we essentially cook using this bain-marie cooking technique, you know, when you need to melt chocolate. So the water is actually never in contact with the solution. It's just to protect the still and heat on. Once it reaches around 78 degrees Celsius, this is the boiling point for alcohol, which is lower than the boiling point for water. At this moment, the vapors will be flying through those pipes until they reach this chamber in the middle that we call it the vapor infusion chamber. Over here, we keep the more delicate botanicals. You probably saw over there rose petal, lavender, lemongrass. They are very, very delicate. If you throw them into this boiling solution, it will ruin their properties. We don't want that. So we keep them into these vapor infusion chambers in some baskets, like you can see by the corner over there. Of course, they are much bigger because they are for Annie and Lina. I have some smaller ones over here. And then at this moment, the vapors will be flying through those delicate botanicals. We will extract the flavors. We'll extract their essential oils. We'll extract their lovely fragrances. And then they will reach the condenser, which is the last part of it. The condenser will do exactly what the name suggests. It will turn this into a liquid format again. And at this moment, legally, you can call it gin. It is gin, right? But it's still very alcoholic. We don't want that. It's still around 70 and 75%. So in order to lower the alcohol, all we need to do is to add more water. To dilute this solution with more water, we lower the alcohol, very simple equation. Most of our full strength gins vary between 14 and 43%, right? And from here, we dispatch this solution to the bottling facility, which is in the area of Broxburn, not far from the airport. Over there, they will put into bottles, they will label, they will dispatch all around the world, to like your houses, my house, here, and everywhere else. Right? When it comes to the capacity, Matilda can handle 250 liters. So we use this for like very small batches, for limited editions, for experimentations. If you try something new in your recipe, use Matilda for that. Annie and Lina, they can handle each one 2,000 liters, right? We use this for the core range, the gins that we need to produce way more than the others. And I would like to ask you, how many bottles do you think we can produce with 2,000 liters? I would like to hear some guesses. It's not divided by the size of the bottle because we dilute with water afterwards. So it's not a super simple equation of dividing 2004
How
inside.
much water do you put into dilute?
So, sorry?
How much water do you
It depends on the level of alcohol you need to reach.
Yeah, so it's going to be 6. I'd say
More than that.
9 each.
Oh, yeah, each.
9,000.
So almost like that.
2,000 litres in there.
2,000 liters here, 2,000 liters there. So,
Oh, together, 4,000?
No.
No? Okay.
yeah, together 4,000. Yeah, 2,000 each. So one run of 2,000 liters can run up to 10,000 bottles.
Wow.
And give or take, this is a 24-hour process. The maceration tank situation happens over 12 hours overnight. The distillation here happens between 9 and 10 hours per day. So over the course of 24 hours, we can produce up to 10,000 bottles.
Wow.
And that's why people are asking us, what do you do if you need to increase your capacity? Of course, there's no physical space to expand the distillery. So all you need to do is to distill every day. As you can see, we're not distilling today, we're not producing today. When you have like the distillation process happen during the week, this tour here, like between 11 and 2, are very loud, very noisy. Because these machines will be in full swing. And you have people walking around, the master distillers. So in case you need to produce more, we just need to produce every day, something that we don't do. And a fun part of the story is that when you are here during the week, you can see the distillers walking around. The best way to understand if the product is good or not is by trying. So they come here all the time with some jars, and they go back and drink it. So funny story is that by law, by contract, our master distillers are not allowed to drive to work. They can't. It's illegal because part of their job description means drinking gin every day. Yeah. So which means that if they eventually come here driving, they are useless for the day. They are just decoration for the building. They can't try it. So by law, by contract, they are not allowed to drive to work. Like eventually ourselves, we are the guinea pigs. We need to try something when it comes to gin here and there eventually.
How much would they drink?